Hey there, Jason here. I just wanted to pop in just before this episode just to say that we did plan to record an episode for this week, but unfortunately we just couldn't make it happen. But I wanted to get something out to you this week. So what you're about to hear is an episode that we recorded for our now defunct Patreon. This is episode 2 of that Patreon exclusive podcast where we talked all about VHS and VHS players. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I apologise that we didn't get a new episode out to you this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we can get one out in a couple of weeks' time for you. Until then, I hope you enjoy this and stay safe out there. Thanks for the continued support and hopefully speak to you soon. Take care. Enjoy the episode. Greetings and welcome to Pick a Mix, our monthly podcast that's exclusively for our Patreon supporters. My name is Jason, I shall be your host, and here any topic goes as long as it falls into pop culture, and this month we are tackling VHS. The gang's all here, and we interrupt Rich from inputting his Video Plus codes. You alright, mate? Sorry about that.
It's alright, I was a timer guy, I never trusted Video Plus, it was shit.
No.
So,
Same here, I didn't really like it either,
No.
but I'm sure we'll get into it later. Secondly, we had to stop him from fiddling with his tracking to record. It's Chris.
Yeah, and I never trust Video Plus or timers. I used to set an alarm to get up to hit record,
that's extreme.
but it worked.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to deal with the unreliable ITV late night schedule, then yeah, and I've many a missed episode of Cybernet because I just trusted the timer.
Lastly, he nearly did not make it as he was too busy rewinding all his blockbuster videos. Please welcome Steve.
Hello, hi. Isn't it weird that you had to rewind films?
I know, right?
And what happened if you gave a cassette back to Blockbuster without rewinding it? Like, were there consequences for that?
I thought they fined you or something, didn't they?
Did they really?
I'm sure
Did
they
I feel
did.
like there were
People?
no consequences for that.
When they're like an extra 50p or something.
I don't know.
Speaking about rewinding VHS, did anyone find that's quite satisfying, especially like when it's sped up?
No, I had
Okay.
a VHS cassette that rewound, sped up, and then when it got to the end, it snapped and broke.
Oh no!
Fucking hell.
So whenever I was rewinding VHS cassettes, I was always terrified that was going to happen.
Yeah, I can guess. So yeah, I mean, that never happened to me. But you saying there about the snapping of tapes, and like I never really, appreciated how fragile these things actually were, and what was actually happening behind the flaps of the VHS players. And I mean, did any of you guys ever get any tapes tangled up in the machinery?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I actually think I've got a bit of a clean sheet with that one. Even with rentals. I mean, I've had a few tapes that rewound and they were usually exclusively rentals. And I think there's a reason my dad hated us putting rental tapes in the VCR because they had those ones that just sounded incredibly unflattering when they were rewinding. It was like a horrible, straining, tearing sound. Nothing actually happened. Nothing came out. Nothing broke. But it always sounded like the tape was being bloody exercised. Seriously, it was just
that sounded a ribbon fluttering around as if it's just
it was just
completely-
like this screechy pulling sound. And yeah, I always thought maybe it's something to do with some kids jam something in the tape. The last person that had it, I don't know, but yeah, never had any tape actually come out, thankfully. So
Result.
It only happened a couple of times on not the ones me and my brother had in our bedrooms, but the one we had downstairs. It was like a really ancient, stuff you see in 1980s movies kind of job, and it chewed a video to pieces. I think that was when
Was
my
it one
mum
of those-
finally just...
One of those top loaders.
No, it was a...
Dancing in the moonlight.
It was a chunky, massive grey plastic and silver. It must have been from the early 90s, late 80s.
Wow.
It just died, and I'm pretty sure my mum got it second hand from somewhere anyway. So
What brands did we have anyway for actual VCRs?
I always went
all
JVC.
Yeah, I mean JVC was the original, right? But then they they licensed. People like to talk about how in the VHS Betamax wars, it was pornography
It was.
that made.
It was.
But that's not like it's a good story. That's not actually true. It's because Sony said nobody else can get their hands on this format, and JVC said everybody can make a home VCR, and so that's why VHS won, is because it was more accessible and
Yeah, they
more
open sourced
cheaply
it.
manufactured. Yeah. So you could get all sorts of home systems.
I think like my earliest memory of a video player, obviously one that my dad bought, and it was so old that the remote control had a wire.
No.
Wow.
Jesus.
I
That is
remember
one extreme to the other.
it had like I'm sure it must have been like a 3.5 millimeter jack connection thing, and just plugged it in the front of the VHS player, and it had a blue wire from what my memory serves. Obviously a long blue wire to the actual remote control. I thought it was great.
I thought you were going to say a 3.5 millimeter cable then, or wire. It's like, it's like tethered to it by like.
Yeah, that was.
It's funny. There are some teenagers alive today who find the idea of wires on games controllers to be antiquated as well.
Of course.
Weird, though, isn't it? Time,
yeah.
But like VHS is it's a special media to me because it was like the thing that really got me to see lots of films that I don't think I would ever get to see. And the chance of recording them off the telly, I guess, and building up your own little collection of films that were just off the telly. And like, I'm sure I'm not the only one that was like pleased when there was a film that I'd never seen and I really wanted to record it, and it was on BBC, because I was like, yes, no fucking adverts.
No adverts, yeah.
Although I thought there was something incredibly like fun and satisfying about playing the pause game. When you're like getting all the ads out on any ITV or Channel 4. When you got it really good, when you watched it back and it was like this perfect edit, you felt like you're a bloody film editor. You're like, oh, look at that transition from that last scene to the next scene. It's like, mwah.
I had a VHS cassette of South Park episodes when it was showing on Channel 4, and I used to sit there every Friday night and I would press record at the start, pause it on the adverts, and then press stop at the end before the announcer came. I did that for a very long time, and I had just pure South Park. And I went on holiday once and I paid my friend a few quid to do it while I was away, and I was like, it's super important that you cut out, it needs to be pure. So yeah, I just had a VHS cassette of pure unfiltered South Park, and it was the best.
See, I never did that. I think I was a bit of a hack. I just left all the adverts in. I didn't think we bothered with that.
I mean, there's something beautiful about that now. There is something beautiful about that when you see like even stuff that's been archived on YouTube now, and you get like old bits from TV shows, and they'll keep the ads in. There's something incredibly beautiful about that, and obviously at the time they were an annoyance. And now we look back and think, oh God, it's the Christmas bloody, it's the Boxing Day sale for bloody Allied carpets or freaking,
I, along with you guys, that's how I compiled my early fandom of things like Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
It was on BBC Two at 6 o'clock, and I had a VCR in my bedroom because my brother didn't want to watch it, and I was like, fine, I'll go and record it. So I must have taped dozens of Next Gen episodes and DS9 and Voyager. The James Bond movies I'd never watched properly. They came up on ITV in the early 90s. I recorded every single one of them. In actual fact, I still have some of my recorded videos, and I'd love to see what ad reels are in there.
Yeah.
I think they're just in the bottom of a box that I've never got around to throwing them away. And they're still up there. Batman Returns, Diet Coke movie premiere. I had that for years. Absolute years I had that for. Yeah, just like Rich said, that nostalgia factor where you see old ad reels for toys and tourist attractions and shit that doesn't even exist anymore. You're like, oh my God, take me back tonight.
Yeah, I like seeing things like the continuity announcers and the news as well. If the news come up, like see a super young Hugh Edwards or something, like holy shit.
I always have a fond memory as well of like You know, the little tab on the bottom of the VHS, the videos, and always kind of like finding out like what it actually does. And like even now, when you think about it, it's pretty clever. Like you know, like you pull this bit of plastic out, and then you can't record anything on it, and you have to put a bit of sellotape over it to make it the video player allow you to record on it again.
Yeah, I love that because it tells a story, right? Like my parents had tons of VHS cassettes with the sellotape over the top, and like it's like environmental storytelling. It's like what film did you decide you wanted to keep, and then what changed that made you decide you didn't want to keep it anymore? What was more important that you had to record? It was more important than, I don't know, Indiana Jones at some point.
That and the magic as well of standard and long play as well.
Oh yeah,
I remember having like a 2-hour or like a 3-hour VHS tape, and I managed to record all of WrestleMania 17 on it, which was over 4 hours. I was like, this is like witchcraft, man. This is incredible. Like,
well, how did it do that? Presumably, it was a downgrade in quality to fit more information on the tape.
Definitely. Yeah. It was like whatever. Fine. Obviously, at the time, we weren't as hung up on that performance. So nowadays, obviously, you wouldn't be able to get away with anything the equivalent. It would be like having something streaming in 720p. Like,
I suppose the equivalent these days is in your video games, it's performance or graphics mode, right? Like,
that is a
very
good way of putting it.
Or do you want the 4K, right? That's the... Do you remember the adverts for VHS at the time that were just total bullshit? Where they were like, you can record on our VHS tapes and it maintains the clarity and quality of a live broad... No, it fucking doesn't. Like
that was the Scotch tape skeleton, wasn't it?
Oh, I love
like record over and over again and it'll be the same. No, it won't, you bony fucker. It's terrible. But we just didn't know at the time. Like VHS, it looked dog shit, but
it did.
In a way that now is deeply comforting and nostalgic to go back to.
But it didn't look dog shit on a CRT television because they're designed to carry those waves.
Yeah.
You watch a VHS now on a flat panel, it's fucking disgusting. It's fucking awful. Which is why I won't play any of my old consoles on a flat panel because it just doesn't work. You put it on a glass-fronted CRT television that weighs a quarter of a ton, absolutely fine.
It's funny you brought up the Scotch skeleton adverts because I did queue up some old school VHS stuff.
Hell yeah, dude!
Let's go. That I wanted to, put into the podcast as we were speaking, and so you bringing that up was a perfect opportunity to do so.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
Every recording as good as the first, or we'll give you a new tape. You can watch Scotch forever.
Re-record, not fade away.
How many people do you reckon actually contacted Scotch and said, excuse me, the quality on my tape, you need to send me a new one, please?
I'm sure there must have been somebody.
There must have been somebody, right? But, not enough.
No,
otherwise
I mean, because if it was me or my parents, I'm sure that, just put it in the bin, we'll fucking get a new one.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. But yeah, bullshit. Re-record, not fade away. Like, it's faded the first time you record something.
Yeah. And that magnetic tape will degrade the more you record on it because it's magnetic tape and it doesn't last forever.
That's the thing that kind of blows my mind about this. We're talking about like the little tabs and everything, and the tape heads and the flaps and everything. It's an analog medium, which these days is almost impossible to imagine. An analog medium, like it's hard to even understand what that means anymore. Because nothing's analog anymore. It's like banging two sticks together. It's bananas that this was a thing that actually existed.
And also, have you seen the mechanics of a VHS player or a Betamax player?
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is the most hypnotic thing I've ever seen. You don't think to yourself that mechanics are happening inside that small box underneath your television. Yeah. And someone will take the casing off and then eject and play and fast forward. There's so much complex machinery going on in just that little time. Just to read a 1/4-inch magnetic tape.
Yep.
I've seen them on YouTube, and like, it's memorizing, like, or memorexing. You know, it's like
Memorexing. Hey.
Boom. Yeah, it's fascinating, and it's an art form that's gone, that's lost, and it's a bit of a shame.
I still think another thing as well, it seemed obviously very small at the time, but we look back now with real nostalgia, I think is also those sleeves you got for the blank tapes, depending on what brand you got, if you were Scotch or I always remember the Memorex, the HS video cassettes with like that weird like yellow circle with the like pink triangle, and it's like green, red, and blue lines coming off the circle.
And it's very abstract.
Yeah,
like
the JVC
like some kind of abstract
XR,
cyberpunk landscape. Yeah,
I always remember those, and I think there was only ever a certain batch we always got. We'd always stick between Scotch Memorex and JVCs, and I always remember those sleeves. And yeah, like I think I almost got like I think it was a Memorex like branded hoodie recently.
Nice.
Like, I saw someone with it. Yeah, it's like literally looks like the cassette sleeve.
Nice.
I'll have to find a link and send it to you guys. But I saw someone with it, and I'm still debating: do I buy it? Will my wife kill me?
It's fantastic.
I'm gonna walk around like a blank cassette. Yeah,
but it's funny. Like there's something about like buying a blank VHS and breaking the seal, and you get that fresh smell of the video, and then you got quite excited because you got fresh stickers to put on the VHS.
Oh yeah,
especially at Christmas time as well. You used to get blank cassettes as presents because you knew there was stuff you were going to tape over Christmas. I was like, it's so cool. Oh my god, shit!
I used to cover those cassettes in paper and stick magazine pictures from the relevant like movies and.
Oh, no,
that's a great idea, Chris. I don't know why I never thought of that. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's the most fucking autistic thing I ever did.
Sounds brilliant.
Right? And
good idea.
But I would go to my old magazines and newspapers, and I would literally just fucking school glue movie posters and stuff onto those cardboard sleeves.
Amazing. Love it. See, I don't think I could do that because I remember my mum and dad used to have bought their own like cases to put the videos in.
Oh god, those bloody! I remember my granddad had those like leather bound hardback.
Yeah, my grandparents had a massive collection of those of stuff that they recorded off telly.
Just made it look like a book or something on the shelf.
That's right.
I never had those.
God,
they were like a mahogany kind of colour, with like to look like a leather book or something. And it was painful. Proper 80s shit, that was.
So was there even any kind of indication on like the spine? Because obviously you're like, what the fuck? I want to watch bloody License to Kill that I taped off ITV a few years ago. Where the fuck is it? All I'm seeing is
I'm pretty sure.
It's on the same video cassette as Teddy Ruxpin and Rupert the Bear. In the middle of both of them. License to Kill.
My Teddy Ruxpin, I had an official Teddy Ruxpin VHS cassette, and I only ever saw 2 episodes of that show, and it was the 2 on that tape.
Wow.
My grandparents had a cataloguing system. They had a book that they wrote in.
Oh no!
Like tape number 11 has this and this.
They had a cataloguing system.
Yeah, and whenever we went over there, it was like we were walking into some kind of vast library of stuff. Like we can watch whatever. They've recorded everything. Like if you can think of it, go through the magical book and just pick something, and they've got a VHS recording of it. Yeah,
that's mad.
That's amazing.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's amazing.
Like Prime Video from in the 80s.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do your grandparents delist stuff as well?
Oh, yeah.
So we've got the rights for this one anymore. We had to smash the tape up. You can't watch this.
Funny you should say about cataloguing. I made a conscious decision, right? I didn't keep all of my recordings. Obviously, you move out, you grow up, you get rid of shit. However, what I did keep were documentaries about the making of certain films and televisions that I still have in my loft that you can't even find on YouTube.
Yeah.
You should get that shit on there before it degrades too much.
There's a YouTube channel in you somewhere. You need to get one of those converters.
I don't have much, but I know for a fact there's a 30th anniversary Star Trek documentary from 1996. I have on VHS. It was broadcast on BBC Two, and I can't find it on YouTube. And I know it's in the loft somewhere.
Yeah, you need to get that stuff preserved, dude.
And I kept it because things like movies and television shows, you can buy on new mediums and new VHSs and DVD and stuff. But those documentaries are like bespoke to the channel that broadcast them.
Yeah.
So I just record them, and they've kind of existed in my company for many years still.
Yep, you should definitely get a converter. I assume like a digitizer is fairly cheap, right? I don't actually know.
Well, I could buy a crappy VHS player from eBay or something for like 20 quid.
Yeah. And just do it with
sure
cables,
you can get converter cables, but
yeah.
I don't even know where they are. I know they're wrapped in cling film and twisted in carrier bags as well.
I love it.
It's like
Love it.
There's a few things that I kept because I just wanted to keep them. I don't know if they still work. They've been up there for quite a few years now, but
I don't have any of my VHS from back in the day at all.
No, many of them. No,
they're all
I think I've got one. I've still got one actual retail VHS of A New Hope when it was actually called Star Wars. It wasn't even that old.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, Rich. I remember I was texting you one day. I went into Blockbuster when it was going down, and I was dating Nicole at the time, and she was living in Margate, and I went into Blockbuster, and someone had got rid of their VHS collection. There was A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and The Making of Star Wars on the shelf for like £5 each. Unedited non-special edition. I still have them. Nice. I don't know how much they're worth. They're like 1995, 96 edition. They got like the metallic kind of like anniversary poster design.
I remember those. Yeah.
And I still have my Jurassic Parks, obviously. I even have the fossil case. Anyone ever have that?
Oh yeah,
the embossed fossil case. I keep random stuff that I shouldn't, but it gives me tremendous joy to have it.
Then you should.
And I obviously still have all my Star Treks and James Bond VHS. That whole picture that went all the way along with all the actors.
I used to love that shit. You don't get that anymore, obviously.
And you used to go into Woolworths, and I don't know if you remember, it was buy Bond and get Bond free.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah. I went in, I was like, that'll be $14.99, please. Oh, 1 free 2, yes, I will take that. So I got, at that point, was it 16, 17 movies for the price of like 8?
Boy.
Walt Disney used to do that, didn't they? Used to get buy one, get one free,
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Nicole's still got some Disney cassettes. Not ones that are worth a fucking small fortune these days, but she's got like...
big, like, purple clamshell cases they used to have. Were they purple or blue? I can't remember now with the Disney
ones.
they
were like really fat, vacuum-formed plastic, weren't they?
Yeah, like those big, they're like those rental cases, they're just like much bigger than the retail ones. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like...
As you say about the Star Trek, you're like, I mean, I wish I kept all my VHS Star Trek things because I used to have them all because that was the way I used to watch Star Trek. I used to buy the VHS to see the new episodes because that was the only way I could get to see them. And so I in my bedroom, I literally bought a bookshelf that went from the ceiling to the floor just so I could store all the Star Trek videos that I had.
It is ridiculous how much space 3 episodes on one cassette took up.
Well, I think there was only 2 on there, I think.
Oh my
God. 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, like you, I was going in, I was like, oh, that's reduced or secondhand. I'll buy that and I'll watch those. They're not on BBC Two yet. We didn't have satellite television at home. And then I'd record, random stuff.
I remember taking up a subscription with Forbidden Planet in London, where every time a new Star Trek video released, they would just send it to me in the post.
Fantastic.
So that was great. It was amazing. And I
love that.
So many. And I had all the Buffy box sets as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same.
And all day, one day we went and did a boot sale and I just sold them all. Because VHS was dying and DVD was the new world and I didn't need them anymore. So,
but I feel like VHS, like I understand they would be nice to have for nostalgia purposes, but VHS is never going to have that like vinyl moment, is it? Like
no.
Like I loved VHS tapes, but they were always a bit shit. And like the only value they have now is nostalgia, right? So you were right to get rid of them.
Yeah.
That's a lot of plastic that you just don't need in your life.
And a lot of storage,
You didn't realise you were happy to see the back of it until you saw the back of it. Because I remember when DVD really came out and I just bought anything on DVD.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted it. I just wanted it. Like, if it could have all the special features and no special features, I never would have done that with VHS. There's something about, I just don't look back. Yeah, you look back with nostalgia, but I don't like miss it. Not like the advent of CD.
There were Star Trek releases that had every video had a portion of a picture on it, and in my friend's house, one of his hallways, on the side of his hallway was just lined up Next Generation and Deep Space Nine VHS cassettes, and it like created this really long picture on the side. I think back on that, and that's like a deeply comforting and nostalgic feeling. But if I had that in my house now, I'd be like, that needs to go.
But could you imagine 7 seasons of a TV show, 3 episodes on average per cassette? How much space 7 seasons of a television show would take up an entire house? And there are YouTube videos of people's VHS collections, and it's insane.
And I had a full set of DS9 and a full set of Voyager.
Wow.
What, all 7
VHS.
seasons?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Why would you physically own Voyager?
Well, that's a conversation for another episode.
I'm not getting involved in this argument.
That is a bad TV show. What are you doing?
When you think, though, we went from that to like DVD or Blu-ray, you think all those like 7 seasons, now you could probably get that into like a couple of multi-disc like digipack sets. That takes up literally 12 inches on your shelf. Or one of those, more to the point. It's,
that was a phone for the listeners. A phone.
Sorry, that could have been anything.
One of these.
He's got 7 seasons of Voyager tattooed on his cock. Like.
It's an analog format, you know.
Yeah, I look forward to our DVD episode. That'd be cool to talk to about all that kind of stuff.
Equally, DVD now looks as trash as VHS did 20 years ago to us buying DVDs.
It's not great. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah.
And that makes me feel even older than we are.
Yeah. It's just like any media format, though, isn't it? You know, Discworld and all
it moves with the times.
All degrades over time, unfortunately.
So the last memory that I have of VHS that I definitely want to try and get in here is I grew up on RAF camps because my dad was in the RAF, so we were posted around the place. We lived in Germany for quite a long time, and we had a British television channel that was supplied by the RAF, but it was shite, right? So VHS cassettes were like my window into my home country. So I got like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on VHS cassette with no way to see it on telly. So like VHS cassettes were like my lifeline in a foreign land, and like that's another attachment that I have to VHS as a medium. So like a lot of my stuff in my childhood, I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that's on the back of like 2 VHS cassettes. So there's 4 episodes of that show that rattle around in my head, and that's it. And if I ever see an episode outside of those 4, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't know who that is. What's going on? That show for me is those 4 episodes and nothing else.
And don't tell me one of those was how it all began.
It wasn't actually. No?
Everyone had that.
Yeah, I had that one.
It was New York's Shiniest and the Ninja Frogs, and then it was the one with the pizza aliens, and I don't remember the 4th one.
I remember. I don't know how we got these of it, and Rich will probably recognise this. A podcast me and Richard listened to, Laser Time or 30-20-10. There's a host that's obsessed with the Muppets and anything Disney, right? He was talking the other year about Muppet Babies. Anyone remember Muppet Babies?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
We had a VHS of 2 episodes of the Muppet Babies. Do you know what? You cannot watch that anywhere unless anyone's uploaded it to YouTube. It does not exist, or maybe it's on some illegal streaming platform. I don't know. And I remember having that VHS in our house.
It's not even on Disney Plus. Wow.
I don't know where. Yeah,
you think it would be?
It's just madness, absolute madness, and literally lost media.
I mean, similar to what Steve said. I mean, like even not being someone that lived abroad, but I think even just being like a kid that grew up, never had Sky or cable television. VHS was this like window into seeing the shows you wanted to see, but you couldn't. Like I had all these like different Simpsons VHS tapes I got one Christmas, like Springfield Files, and I can't remember the other ones now, but it was like this was obviously in a pre-BBC Two age when Simpsons was just not on terrestrial. Even some of those Turtles episodes, episodes of the X-Files. Like, it was just the only chance you had, and you really, really appreciated, and you just glommed onto it because it was just this incredibly. It always felt like you were watching this really exotic thing. Like, oh yeah, that's what they watch over on the other side, you know.
Yeah.
and again, just like you, every time, like Steve and Rich, every time I think of The Simpsons, I can tell you almost every episode of seasons 1 and 2 of The Simpsons verbatim from my head, because we didn't have satellite or cable. All of our friends did. We didn't know what The Simpsons was. We didn't watch it. We didn't have the internet or any downloads. So we managed. I think my mum managed to rent The Simpsons over and over again just so we could watch it, so we could talk about it at the playground or something. Yeah, it's crazy. Now you can just go, what am I going to watch? Boom, queue it up, done. 10 seconds, no waiting, no clunky, nothing.
All 8 seasons of The Simpsons.
Yeah, all eight good ones. But again, we used to record, like you guys were saying, the X-Files, because it was a big thing in our house. Well, me and my mum anyway, like, we would watch the X-Files, and it would be on BBC Two. But because I was in bed when it was on at like 9 p.m. in the early 90s, when 93, 94, BBC Two got it remarkably early, the X-Files.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my mum telling me that she found it when just not long after she and my dad broke up. And she said, Chris would love that, because I was one of those really nerdy kids who's into everything sci-fi.
What?
And,
No.
right?
Really?
Come on, what?
And,
that can't be true.
She used to
glad I'm
record
sitting
it at
down.
like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'd watch it the next day or so, and I'd be like, that's great. Fucking love it.
Hell yeah, dude. I used to, my parents used to bogart the TV on a Friday night, so they would record Buffy and then Angel for me, and then I would go out or
Nice.
whatever, and then I'd come back at like 11 o'clock at night, and they'd hand it off to me, and then I'd go to my room, and I'd watch Buffy and then Angel. Oh, good times.
I always did it on the Friday night. I used to always set the tape for it depended what was on at the time, but it was either Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, or Stingray, because we used to go to Tesco's for like the big shop on a Friday night. Used to come back with my pick and mix,
Hell yeah.
and then just watch like whatever Thunderbirds was on like an hour
Beautiful.
before, and then that was like always exciting to get back.
Did we used to have to keep it on the channel we were recording on to a certain point?
Yes. Unless your video cassette was run on a different aerial.
Yeah, so you needed a second, I can't remember what the aerial's called now, coax cable? You needed a
coaxial,
separate one, to be able to do that.
But
Which is,
do you know how I figured that out when we first got a VHS in me and my brother's rooms? Then you had freedom to watch and record anything you want.
Mm.
Do you know the AM antennas that came on those big bulky fucking stereos that we all had?
Mm-hmm.
They could pick up perfect TV reception through those AM radio antennas.
Wow.
It was a wire wrapped around a piece of plastic.
Wow.
I put that in the back of the VCR, and it picked up a radio fucking TV signal.
Huh.
And that's how I managed to record.
Yeah, so my VHS, my VCR had a little screen on it that had like a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and whatever number was highlighted was the channel it was recording on, and that was separate to the channel that was showing on the The day that I got a VCR for my bedroom was one of the best days of my life. It was, it was fucking the freedom, like just amazing.
That's what I was just saying. You could go, I want to record that.
Mm-hmm.
That's on tonight, and this is exactly how I discovered some films that were on at 2 a.m. on ITV, and like that was quite good. I recorded it. Boom, there you go. Watch it, and again, record, never fade away. You just record something else after you watched it.
Yeah,
and then you could record stuff and not get caught recording stuff you should have been recording. Horror movies.
Christopher's Channel 4 erotic thrillers on a Friday night.
Soft porn.
The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino.
Yeah, and it would be a miss for us, like I mentioned right at the beginning, with Video Plus and putting the codes in and stuff. Like, I never had much good luck with Video Plus personally. Like, I used to tap the codes in, and from what I can remember, like I used to come back and it hadn't recorded, it hadn't turned on, it recorded something else. Were you guys fans of the Video Plus era?
No. You set the timer 10 minutes before, and then you leave it for like half an hour after, just for safety. Never use those codes. Never, ever.
Nope.
No.
Tried it, got burnt. So.
Yeah. I, like I said at the top of the show, I would either stay up or set an alarm and it'd be pre-tuned to the channel, and I'd just literally reach over from my bed or whatever and just hit record, and it would just go. I never, like you guys, I never trusted those, because what if it didn't kick in? What if your timer is wrong on your VCR and it recorded at 6 a.m. in the morning instead of midnight?
Sometimes those late night schedules as well, those like the ITV through the night were always incredibly, they almost like decided, you know what, fuck it, we're going to change the order around.
Yeah.
We're going to put night screen on now, and then we'll put Cybernet on afterwards.
And you get the first 5 minutes and then nothing else.
In bed with Medina, like...
Oh, God.
That garbage television needs to be on in the middle of the night.
Jesus.
Roland Riveron or where was it? I can't remember now. Who was on that show? But it always end up recording shit like that. And I just want to watch Cybernet and I've got something else. And I used to be in such a strop. Like I used to record it, get up before school to go watch it, and it's just something else. I used to be so upsetting. So upsetting.
The tab ain't getting pulled off for this one.
Seriously.
What were your experiences when you discovered that the thing you recorded 5 years prior, when you found it on a real VHS or DVD, that scene wasn't in the version I grew up watching?
Mm.
It happened with everything. Star Wars, Back to the Future, numerous James Bond movies, like thriller movies, action movies, Die Hard. Like, what the fuck? That's new. It was like a whole new experience.
Indiana Jones was way more violent when I watched it on a release, on a home video release. It was like, that dude got shot in the head and you saw his head go, like, holy shit, that was not on telly. And
the same shot was in, like, this is going to be, like, in Octopussy, there's a moment where Bond shoots the guy who comes into the train carriage, point blank, fucking gunshot wound in the head, and the guy just stares and he falls backwards. When I watched that, I was like, Roger Moore doesn't shoot people in the fucking head.
He sure does.
And like Indiana Jones, they cut out the scene where his hand goes through his chest and pulls out his heart. You saw the implication, but you didn't see the actual action until you got the real VHS. Like, what the fuck?
I had this moment with the blowjob scene in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It's
what the fuck?
Yeah, the TV edit makes it look like he's just dreaming about this very pretty ghost, and then you watch the DVD or the real VHS, and wait, his fucking belt's what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I remember that. That was a bit of a revelation. I had that with RoboCop as well, because I'm sure I watched it on VHS after watching it on ITV. And just the murder of Alex Murphy was just hits.
I mean, was there anything left of that film when they showed it on TV?
No, seriously.
Did anyone else get pissed off when the TV channels used to speed up the end credits as well? Or was that just me?
Oh yeah, it pissed me right off.
Or they would edit them to a point where you just get the cast and then it's like, that's it.
Yeah, that was it. Mm.
Or it would go into half the screen, coming up next on BBC Two.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, fuck off.
Come on, I'm trying to get full video experience here, guys, please.
I'm trying to steal this film. What are you doing?
Exactly. Come on.
Yeah, well, I want to listen to this music at the end credits, and you're telling me what's coming up next or tomorrow or who's on the fucking news being... Oh.
I remember that watching Jurassic Park 3 on TV. Then I realised it actually was the the James Horner version of the theme that was sped up.
James Horner?
Who was it did the theme again did the score for Jurassic Park 3?
Don Davis.
That was it, Don Davis.
Database access.
Yeah. Wow.
It was like a TV movie. It sounded like a TV movie.
My joke was, yes, it wasn't a TV channel that sped it up. It was him.
It was the and even the music to that sounds like, we're going to give John Williams a 70-piece orchestra. Don, you can have 25-piece orchestras.
From a primary school.
Recorded in a church hall with one mic.
The other magic of VHS for me, was just buying the films properly, and once I was earning a bit of cash, it was the way that I was discovering films, and I just love collecting VHS and films that I probably would never necessarily see, and even just getting them for Christmas presents and things like that. I do hold a good memory for the actual official videos that they released, and used to just was really excited just to find out what trailers was going to be on the video before the actual film.
Well, like the Disney VHS, where there's more trailers and other promoted content than there actually is film on the VHS.
Yeah.
Also, a rental isn't a rental without the Federation Against Copyright Theft. Fact. Look out for this hologram sticker.
Cue's my next advert, Rich. Thank you very much.
Here are darling 4 weddings. Here are Rocky 4, 5, 6.
Excuse me, I bought this video from you last Saturday.
So,
Well, I can't understand a word.
train spotting, not surprised. All talking in Scotch, ain't they?
No, I mean, it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's hopeless. It's absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, no trains in it either. I suppose that's my fault as well. Here are darling, $4.99.
Well, the picture's rubbish as well.
Well, that's your tracking, mate.
Well, it's all right on my other videos.
Tracking's touchy.
Be careful. Most pirate videos are unwatchable, and there's no comeback.
Got a receipt, eh? Got a receipt?
Look, you said last week.
Said's no good, mate. Oral contract. Not worth the paper it's printed on. Here, darling, 4 weddings. Train spotting. As advertised on Crime Stoppers.
Pirate videos, daylight robbery.
His claim about most pirated films being unwatchable is simply not true. If you had a good guy,
yes,
they were perfectly watchable.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got another one queued up. I mean, we all know this one, no, right?
You wouldn't stab a policeman and then go to the toilet in his helmet.
Also, the incorrect spelling of the word cancelled as well. In this, do you ever notice that?
Is it?
No.
Yeah, where it says download cancelled on the screen, they spell cancelled wrong.
I've
Trust
never
me.
noticed that.
Trust me.
Well, that advert doesn't really work so well on an audio format because, it's just music. But you get the idea. There's lots of, don't steal. You wouldn't steal a car, would you? So why are you stealing a film?
Download
That's definitely an equivalent.
Because it's not a car.
But was there any cool videos that you got for Christmas or you bought yourself? Can you remember a VHS that you first bought for yourself,
many.
or you just that you treasured?
I would use fairly often. I would use my pocket money to go and buy the next VHS tape of Friends, and there would often be at least one episode on there that had not yet aired on Channel 4, so that was always very exciting. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Friends were the two that I think I didn't really start buying myself VHS until then, and I didn't really buy that many of them. I didn't really have my own walking around money until really DVDs were the thing
Exactly.
by that point. Yeah.
And
I'm
I was
showing-
very much the same.
Yeah, I mean, you
my
are in your 50s, Jason, so...
Yeah, I know, right? It's close. And I'm showing my age over you guys, I guess, because I have fond memories of picking up Casper the Ghost on VHS and watching that. Last of the Mohicans for some random reason, buying and watching that. Oh God, though, just the Flintstones. I remember buying the Flintstones on VHS and just recycling that one over. The one with John Goodman, that was awesome. And
wow,
we need to cover that film on a proper episode at some
do.
point. Yeah, we do. We need to do the Flintstones.
I haven't seen it since I saw it at the cinema. And that was a deeply disappointing film.
Yeah, I remember at the time, it's weird because I won't go on a big tangent, but I remember being a kid and I was always like, yeah, I love every film I watch. But I remember my parents asking me when we went to see it, what did you think? And I just didn't know.
You just didn't
And
know.
that was at the age of 10, where I was was it 12? Was it 95 it came out? It doesn't matter. And yeah, I just didn't know.
Your first existential crisis
I'll
was
come
seeing
back
the live-action
to you.
Flintstones. Things can suck. Oh my God.
I know it's Halle Berry for the dads, but it was disappointing for everyone else.
VHS Part 2, Jason.
Yeah, just the Flintstones.
To continue
That's,
watching the films, put in cassette number 2.
Oh my
Yeah, those
God.
poor people who got it the wrong way around and saw the Titanic sink before it sailed.
Spoilers.
Yeah, the boat sinks. But did anyone again, like you guys, I wasn't an avid collector really, unless it was a James Bond or Star Trek stuff. But occasionally, I had a copy of Face Off with the holographic cover.
I had that. I remember
Hell
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Independence Day also had a holographic cover. The lenticular cover where you turn it and the White House blows up.
Yeah, the White House blows up.
God,
I had that
Hell
one.
Yeah.
I had that one.
Damn. Fuck
And I
you,
believe-
streaming services, for fucking taking all this away from us. That was...
Didn't Godzilla also have a lenticular sleeve as well?
Not that I remember, no.
Something to do with the eye or something? Maybe I'm misremembering. but-
Maybe.
Yeah, not that I recall. I always remember the one I always liked, and it was a bunch of cartoons. And I remember when they released, they did it on VHS before they ever showed it on TV, but the episodes of the Mighty Max cartoon. And it was like proper like 3D, like on top of the actual video box. And it was like an actual, basically like a molded like Mighty Max like play set mounted on the top of the video cassette box. Obviously, it wasn't an actual play set; it was just like a vacuum formed plastic.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like terrible for merchandising in a shop. Seriously, because it's like these massive like coiled rattlesnakes. Like you couldn't like fucking put it in there like a giant skull. I was like, this isn't practical. I'm trying to work in Woolworths.
Yeah.
I can't
There's a
put
lot
the
of
shit
real
out.
estate on my
money.
shelves here.
Yeah, seriously. But they were cool as hell. So.
Yeah, I just had a memory of buying Mars Attacks on video, and it came in. And I remember it came in a double case, and one side it had the VHS, and on the other side it had a fucking T-shirt.
It
was like,
did, and I
yes,
wore that
God.
T-shirt until it got holes in it and was barely a T-shirt anymore. Yeah, that is one that I bought for myself. I had that exact thing.
Speaking of T-shirts, I pre-ordered Batman Forever from Woolworths, and I got a Batman Forever T-shirt with the question mark with the bat symbol on the inside.
Nice.
From Woolworths. And
That's really cool.
I don't remember that at all.
Love that.
It wasn't with it, but it was like a pre-order offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish I kept that Mars Attacks one because I never wore the T-shirt. That T-shirt stays shrink wrapped in the VHS.
Did it
case.
really?
It did.
And it went to a boot fair, did it?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, got rid of it.
So someone now has your incredibly valuable shrink wrapped Mars Attacks T-shirt.
I could probably
in
I could probably
triple
sell it
XL.
for a $5 or something, you know. Some of the other stuff that, you know, getting VHS got me into. I mean, VHS has to be credited for me getting into Star Trek because I got curious and bought they did a series where they took all the 2-parter end of season episodes and put them into like a TV feature length movie, and then they released those on VHS. And I remember buying the best of both worlds and watching that. And thought it was fucking incredible, and that what started me on my journey with Star Trek. And then I went and saw Generations, and then it went from there. You know, and it was the first time I ever watched a Lethal Weapon film when I bought Lethal Weapon 3 on video as well. So
yeah, similar to Star Trek, I remember that with X-Files as well. They did that where they kind of put together episodes to make like little mini movies. Like
that was the Legacy episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did like the Tombs one, and they did Tunguska, which was A2517, what the hell, the one with the train.
82517. That's the exact same number.
Oh man, those ones, and again, that was like, for me, that was a real window into television that was kind of off limits, and that was that magic about it. So cool.
What I loved about the way they did the X-Files was they released the Legacy videos as, like Rich just said, a feature length. So you didn't have to watch the 15 other episodes in that season. You could watch the 4 or 5 Legacy episodes and know exactly what's going on without watching the filler.
It's definitely a lost art, isn't it? For sure.
yeah,
I mean, things are better now objectively, but it's definitely something was lost. So, speaking of like a window into things that are off limits, video nasties were a fascinating thing. I went to my friend's house once, and he was like, "I want to show you some films," and he showed me Bad Taste and Brain Dead.
Oh yeah.
Now, I now understand that they are Peter Jackson films, and I now understand the craft and the story behind them. But as a wee nipper, I was like, "What the fuck did I just like? What the fuck do you have on VHS cassette?" Like, that's also something that you just don't get to experience anymore at all.
No, and that is how I was introduced to horror.
Yeah. Those ones always jumped out to me with like the Vipco ones with the black cover, big white writing. It was like Driller Killer and Cannibal Holocaust and Toolbox. Was it Toolbox Murderer or something? Toolbox Killer. There's so many ones, and I've seen them on the shelf in Blockbuster, and I was always like, oh my god, like they felt like it's almost like you're watching, like, you know, you're looking at like the Ring video, like you daren't put it in your VHS player if you didn't know what it was going to do to you in real life.
Yeah. It felt like crime was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where we grew up as well, like the small group of friends that I grew up with, a lot of our friends in our area around the field that we grew up on, they were like 3 to 5 years older than us. So we'd go to their house and watch Child's Play or Nightmare on Elm Street or that kind of shit. Like, not Critters. Oh, fuck. What's that other? Oh, what the fuck was it? Is it Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching this kind of stuff, and you're like, I shouldn't be watching this. But like you said, Steve, that was your gateway to, oh my god. And we're watching, like Rich said at the top of the show, RoboCop, Terminator, all those R-rated action movies that we shouldn't watch. It didn't turn us into psycho mad people.
No.
It turned us into appreciating the art form.
Yeah,
exactly what Steve just said.
It kind of felt at the time like it had ruined your life seeing that stuff, and the only cure was to see more of it. Like, I have to see more of that now. That's the only way forward. The only way forward is through it. Like, you need to show me more of the stuff.
I don't know. I remember trying to watch Bad Taste, and that put me off watching anything like that for quite a long time.
It is a difficult watch. Still, Bad Taste is a hard film to watch.
I actually don't think I've still seen that. I saw, obviously, Brain Dead, but I don't think I've ever watched Bad Taste. I always remember seeing the cover. The cover's fucked. Like,
yeah, the thing about Bad Taste and Brain Dead is then you watch The Lord of the Rings and you can see those films all over those films. Like, he took the gross stuff and put it in those films, which is great.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember watching... Is anyone familiar with a film called Basket Case?
Yeah.
Yes.
Rings a bell.
I watched that around a friend's house when their parents were away for a day or two, and loads of us were around his house, and he put it on. I was captivated because it's a film about a guy whose deformed twin, he carries around in a basket. It's the most batshit crazy horror movie.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do you remember
I'm aware of that one. I don't think I've seen it, but I'm aware of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, whoa, hang on a minute, and then. You said, it becomes this thing where I need to not see more of it. I just need to. And I was one of those kids that was more obsessed with how did they do that. It didn't scare me or keep me awake at night. I was more fascinated with the like how did they get that to do that? And People Under the Stairs. Anyone watch People Under the Stairs?
Yeah, I think once ever, but yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing, and like. People with these videos, you sit around their house and you're like, oh, cool. And then you go home and never utter a word to your parents what you just watched.
Yeah, I had that with the first Evil Dead, which is so funny now because at the time I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be really scary. You look at it now and I'm like, oh yeah, it's that really cool, like real, black comedic horror, proper Sam Raimi. But then you didn't know. You just thought it's this really fucked up video nasty.
Did it make it worse watching these video nasties and when you paused it and it just like the screen just like juggled up and down?
Well, I mean, one of the great contemporary mediums to come out of this is analog horror, which works on a deep level, particularly for our generation, because the point of analog horror is that it subverts that comforting, familiar VHS feeling that you have and makes it all fucked up. Analog horror fucking rules, man.
I'm gonna have to look. I don't think I've seen it. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's a genre. So films like VHS.
Oh, okay. And I thought it was an actual movie. Sorry for my ignorance there.
It's no. It's fine. It's a genre of horror. Like retrospectively, you'd probably call the Blair Witch Project analog horror, although it wasn't called that at the time. But it's in that kind of vein where the crunchy analoginess of the format is used to heighten how scary it is. And you get like fuzzy bits of the screen that would like fuzzy bits of the screen that would like cut to a scary face and then back again. And yes, weirdly, wrestling is currently doing an analog horror, which is very strange.
I mean, I know it wasn't like a found footage, but I look at something like Skinamarink, which I know Steve is still not watched, I don't think.
We'll never watch that film.
And that feels like saying that was like, even though it wasn't found footage, it feels like saying that would have been born and would have died on VHS.
Yes.
Because it is just shot that way, and it does evoke that feeling, because that's the thing now. You don't, with like, the advent of DVD and Blu-ray and 4K streaming, blah, 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 that pristineness of it just doesn't, it loses so much. Like with vinyl, I mean, and CD. CD was crap because it was so pristine. You look at vinyl now, you expect there to be something about it that is like I don't know. As a format, I think VHS, it does feel like it's living and breathing. It's all moving parts.
It does.
So you almost can't trust about it in a way. You think, look at it, there's something behind what you're able to see, and that if I
100%.
tap into something, whereas this disc that's just got data on it that's been accessed by a laser, it's just so cold.
A
and there's
VHS cassette can betray you because the audio can warble.
Yeah,
and or it can someone can suddenly slow down when I'm striking and then go back to normal, and you're like, what the fuck was that? Is this tape haunted? Yeah, man. Chris Straub does a really good analog horror series on YouTube. It's called Local 58.
Okay,
I'm gonna check that to make sure I got that right.
As an that's my watch list.
Highly recommend checking out Local 58. It is Local 58 on YouTube.
Yeah, seriously, analog horror is like my favourite kind of horror. Now, it is like a subgenre, really. It's like Giallo. It's just that kind of... Yeah, it's brilliant. It's an aesthetic, but it feels like its own genre.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's great.
I love it.
Did anyone ever... pretty much almost physically identical medium of audio cassettes? Even had a tab at the bottom. It was basically a very small VHS player, children listening. Very small VHS player that just played audio.
They've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. They know what a cassette tape is.
No, they don't. It's just a big bulky iPod, with moving things on the inside. But this is I used to record my films straight onto cassette for listening to soundtrack in headphones.
Nice.
Was I the only one in this group who did that?
Yes.
That weird thing. Okay.
I don't even have to ask the other two to know the answer to that is yes.
I shouldn't have needed to ask anyone.
It's a good idea, though.
Yeah, I used to listen to some of my favourite TV shows and movies, and I literally just... My parents had this really old... not a boombox as such, but it was they had it when they lived in the Middle East before I was born. And you could plug in audio cables directly from a source directly into it and manually select with a small chrome lever what source to record from.
Huh.
So I used to plug straight from my TV. I don't think I'd do it. Anyway, it would go in and I'd hit record and I'd just leave it running and record the raw audio directly onto the cassette. So no microphone, no background noise, nothing. And I'd listen to it for mainly the music. I'd listen to... That was my version of a soundtrack before I could go and afford or buy cassette or CD soundtracks. That was how I would do it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool.
Very clever, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I would never have done that as a child. And if somebody saw you doing that, they would think there was something wrong with you, but there wasn't. That's a good idea.
When I remembered what I used to do, I went onto YouTube and so many people have done that. It was a thing. But I've never met anyone
now. They fall asleep to Netflix. It's a thing. You were just ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Well, I would listen to it while I was out, or if I was going away, I would take one cassette with my Walkman that I'd have a few episodes of something on, and I'd just listen to it on my headphones. Because you had no phones, you had no portable television. I wasn't rich enough to have one of those portable televisions.
If you're sitting in the back of a car, and you've got that going, you could just close your eyes and just imagine the scenes as they're playing on your tape. Yeah,
I've got a weird brain. I can watch a movie or TV in my head with my eyes closed. Anyway, but yeah, I thought I'd bring it up when you mentioned about the audio sort of stuff, and I was like,
that's really cool, man. I love it.
One of the weird guys who recorded just audio onto audio cassettes.
But yeah, it's been great reminiscing about VHS and. Yeah, again, I think it's just something else that the internet sapped the fun away from people, making it too easy to access all this stuff. And you've heard all our memories, and we've got all these fond memories of VHS and all this stuff that we used to encounter and experience and everything. And people growing up now, my kids are never going to have those kind of memories, and it's a little bit sad, actually.
Yeah.
They've got Fortnite skins, Jason. They're fine.
Yeah, no knows forever as well.
They're fine.
But then when they're approaching 40 or mid-40s, they're going to turn around to their kids or their grandkids and say, "Do you remember when we had an actual physical television with a remote,
Yeah.
it's going to be a very similar thing.
Do you remember when Elon Musk couldn't get your opinion of him straight from your brain? I shouldn't have said earlier that things are objectively better now, but I understand the anxieties of not owning media these days, but there are pros and cons. Like VHS cassette tapes die, DVDs die, like nothing is forever, and so nothing much has actually changed that much. Like you could have a house fire and lose all your shit. Like it's everything is dust in the end, guys. We're all dust on the wind. So
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
you know, so if I don't own films anymore, I'm kind of, I don't know. I think I've made my peace with that stuff, really.
Yeah.
Well, you say it's so easily accessible now. You know, if you wanted to go and watch The Abyss, it's probably like a £5 rental or download or Streamio.
To watch the double
experience,
double screen wipe. Yeah.
The problem is, the problem is the exploitation of the workers. It's people not being paid enough. Like that's the one issue that is obviously wrong. But in terms of our access as consumers, I think I prefer it now. I don't need all that plastic in my life.
No.
Well, yeah, environmental wise and space wise, yeah. I mean, we're living the better life than we did in the 90s.
You will never lose access to anything. Like somebody has your back somewhere. If you want it enough, you can find stuff. Like you've not lost anything.
Real
really.
Debrid.
Do you see how delicately I'm trying to approach this? And you guys are just like, yo ho, motherfuckers.
But it's not like you see people on Twitter and Instagram post like commenting on these videos or posts saying like physical media, you need to find your copies to secure them. And just like Steve just said, I have to laugh sometimes because I'm like, why? You can go now and spend 10 minutes finding the version of a film you watched 20 years ago, like Star Wars, for instance. There are multiple versions of Star Wars everywhere online.
If the internet goes off, you have bigger problems than not being able to find an episode of some TV show.
Because if the internet's gone off, you have no power to turn your television on to watch your physical media.
Or turn your lights on in the front room.
So what use is your physical media other than reading the case by candlelight?
Exactly that.
I mean, at the point now where films do like an online check-in, like they're going to do that. Like, you know, season 4
Someone will work it out.
Bottom has not checked in for 24 days. Like, you can't watch it anymore. It's like, shit. It's like...
But it's these people who will go out and buy a copy on Amazon. But Amazon or iTunes will only have those rights for a certain amount of time.
Exactly.
Once those rights are up, they delete it from their servers. And these people who don't read the small print or use common fucking sense will say that you don't actually own the copy that you downloaded. iTunes or Amazon or someone else owns it. If their license is up, they can no longer supply that to you.
Yeah.
And also, like, residuals have not caught up from the VHS era or the DVD era. It's terrible. Don't pirate, folks. But the current state of stuff in terms of exploitation is bad. It's not consumer focused either. So there are pros and cons for sure. But I love not having that much plastic weighing me down anymore. So, you know.
I mean, I'll have a film on my shelf on Blu-ray, and I'll still spend 10 minutes trying to find a working source online. And I'll literally like, why you just get the disc off the shelf? Like, no, like, give me 5 more minutes.
To get off the couch and put that DVD in the DVD player? No thanks.
Do not pirate. You wouldn't steal a car. Come on.
Do not go onto the Buccaneer coastal body of water, as I call it. You know.
Amazing.
What's wrong with Wolfie does not support piracy in any form.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the small print, Steve.
That includes unauthorised broadcasts in schools, oil rigs.
Oh, God. Always done oil rigs. I always thought that was. Remember, as a kid, I always got my imagination going crazy. Like someone's watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes on an oil rig. Right. Like, it's like the shipping forecast in the background. It's like,
that image, that warning
shit.
has stuck in my brain. It's been burnt into my brain because all the other locations are normal. Public broadcasting in schools and public places like halls and shit. And then it says, and oil rigs.
Can you imagine, like, being an oil rig worker and it's like, fuck me, I guess. Like, I just want to watch a film. Like, come on. That seems really harsh, doesn't it? It also warned against, like, public screenings, right? So do you reckon there was ever anybody that had, like, more than 10 members of their family round over Christmas and they put Die Hard in the cassette player and then the police just kicked the door down? Like, how many of you paid for this? Do you own a copy? Like, what's the threshold for that?
It's almost like they just make it up and they never enforce it. It's great. I love it. It's the best.
It's just designed to scare people, isn't it?
Exactly. That's why the hologram
it's the
sticker
same
is
as
so scary. Right?
Yeah, TV licensed detector vans and stuff like that.
All right, on that note, thank you to you. Yes, you amazing person that's listening to this right now. That's it for this episode of Pick and Mix. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please let us know. We'd also love to hear your favourite VHS memories. So please share them to us on the socials or on our Discord. Link in the show description. And just wanted to take this chance to say thank you for your generosity with supporting us monetarily. It's really humbling and you will always have a place in our hearts. Look out for the next episode of Pick and Mix next month. We'll catch you on the next main episode of What's Wrong with Wolfie. But until then, that's it. So take care out there and we'll speak soon. Goodbye.
Be kind and rewind.